Welcome back to Getting Up with Gareth Hall on this Thursday morning. Each and every Thursday during the spring, we'll be catching up with Dean Evans from Winning Edge Investments. And it's always great to catch up with Dino and pick his brain before the features coming up this weekend. Dino, hello to you. And boy, I can't wait for a couple of races. The Sir Rupert Clark and, of course, the George Main and the Shorts. There's a few races that are mouth-watering, aren't they?
Yeah. Look, a fantastic day's racing again. The Rupert Clark, going to be a capacity field of 16. There's 20 accepted for emergencies, and in handicap conditions, that's always a very competitive race, and you can often throw a blanket over the finish. The George Main is just a incredible clash with Zaki and Animo, but there's a couple of other very, very good horses in there as well, and the Shorts. Is very much an Everest dress rehearsal. Pretty much all of the big Everest names are all running in the same lead up. So very, very exciting day's racing.
So right now on this Thursday morning, the favourite for the Sir Rupert Clark, I Wish I Win, still hasn't gained a start. Looking at the market with Bet365, you've got Dallasan at $23, Laws of Indecy at $21, Cinnamon at $17, I Am Superman at $15, Graceful Girl $13, Anton at $5, Showmanship at $7, Tuvalu at $6, Dragon Leap at $7.50, and I Wish I Win at $3.20. How do you assess this race, especially with the favourite, probably a 50-50 chance of gaining a start on Saturday?
Yeah, it's tricky assessing this race on a Thursday morning. It could certainly change complexion. You've got the favourite there, the second emergency, and a very, very strong chance in the first emergency in Dragon Leap. You look at the historical profiling of this race, and it's quite interesting. Over the last 11 years, 7 winners have been third up, and 1/4 up and 1/8 up. So nine of the 11 winners have been third up or more, and yet a lot of the big chances in this race are first or second up, including, I Wish I Win is a favourite. You got Tuvalu, Shalo, Ayrton, all in the market, and they're all first up. There's also the vast majority of winners, 8 out of the last 11 have under 18 career starts. So it's quite often a really good race for an up-and-comer, which makes sense being a handicap. Often the older horses who are up on the weights find it quite challenging. And only one mare's won in the last 11 years. And the other factor is anything that's settled basically in the second half of the field in the last 11 years hasn't been able to win. So they usually, a lot of them settle sort of between 7th and 9th. So getting that sort of nice run midfield and peeling out and charging home is a really good recipe for a Rupert Clark winner. But it's very hard to lead. It's also very hard to win from a long way back. So it's interesting with the favourite. He's, incredibly impressive first up, winning at Caulfield and with ratings and speed times quite similar to the Memsey, but he's second up here, he's also mapping, from my perspective, be quite a long way back. So he's possibly got the tactical speed to settle earlier, but if you rate him on his first up run, then he's actually going to be right out the back of the field. So there's a couple of risks there for the favourite at sort of that $3.20 price. Certainly a handy field outside of him. I thought Dragon Leap is the first emergency. Was really impressive closing fourth in the Memsey Stakes. Ran very nice sectionals, getting home, plus 2.6 for the last 1,000 metres. That was 25th best of the day, and apart from sort of I'm Thunderstruck and Cascadian, he was the best closer in the race. He got past Alligator Blood and some handy horses there, Western Empire and the like. He drops from 59 kg to 54.5, and horses sort of running well on the Memsey and then dropping down in weight for this race have a really good record. So I thought Dragon Leap at $8 was a very, very nice chance in this race. Shalo's a horse who just absolutely flies fresh, 4 wins from 5 starts, first up. Has had a positive trainer change here with Mick Price and Michael Kent taking over, and they are, really looking like the premier big race trainers at the moment in Victoria. They're just winning with everything. So, have to give Shiloh a good chance. My only negative with Shiloh just is she's a real get-back horse, and mares don't have a great record in this race. But her fresh track record is something that needs to be considered at around $15. Laws of Indices is a horse that I've got a lot of time for. I think he's going to win a Group 1 at some point. His first up here, which is a negative, he was also not well weighted, but he maps perfectly in that sort of spot where I suggested where sort of, you'd be probably, 7th or 8th and one off the fence. And so I think he's going to get a beautiful run. His Golden Eagle 5th and his Jord Rider 3rd and previous preps sort of reads really well from here. And then you got a horse like Showmanship, who's won 8 from 10, really done nothing wrong. This is one of those very consistent, lightly rated horses that also profiles well for a race like this. So I'll be betting against I Wish I Win, just simply being second up and having to get a long way back. I think at the price I'll be looking elsewhere, and I think Dragon Leap I've got rated really clearly on top based on that last run. And so Laws of Indices, Shiloh and Showmanship I think are all sort of chances at double figure odds as well.
So we'll take on the favourite if it gets a start anyway. And I Wish I Win, and hopefully Dragon Leaps next into the field, the first emergency, the New Zealander there in the Sarupa Clark. Just before we take a break, I'll just get a quick comment with your selections in the Caulfield Guineas Prelude and also the 1,000 Guineas Prelude. Af Cabin is the 240 favourite with Bet365 in the Caulfield Guineas Prelude. He does look tough to beat, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's fitting well. Everyone saw a Sandown win. His ratings, he was plus 11.4 for the last 600 metres, which is sort of exceptional numbers. And then I think he was just ridden too close in the McNeil, but he still ran very well. He was a very strong second. He got beaten by a very good horse in Jacquinot. So I think Af Cabin's going to be the one to beat. Aussie Pingo has a boom on him. But and had pretty strong figures at its second run at Rosehill and in defeat. He's first up, and I think a fit Af Cabin's going to beat him. There's a couple of horses I think just to watch for going forward, although I think Af Cabin's going to be the one to beat. Japanese Emperor was a very impressive winner at Sandown on debut. Ran plus 9.6 the last 1,000 metres, was the best closing rating over the last 1,800, 600, 400, 200 of the day at Sandown on debut. Ran incredible time, better than a couple of BM70 races later on in the day. Just smashed them on the clock, was sort of 8 lengths above par. So Japanese Emperor is a very, very good horse. I think this is his first prep, so it's always hard to win anything in the spring in your first prep, but he's the kind of horse who I think is going to be a Group 1 horse, potentially in the autumn. And Berardino is another horse who might need a bit more time as well, but he's actually a very good horse. So it's a very, very strong Caulfield Guineas. From a 1,000 Guineas Prelude perspective, it's a tricky little race, but I do think Russian Conquest is one that I think can improve really sharply. She was very impressive in her first 2 runs, absolutely bolted in at Randwick, then got beat a nose by Coolangatta in the Magic Million, so has all sorts of talent. And since that run, has had 3 runs on absolute bog tracks in the Riesling, the Golden Slipper, and then first up at Group 2 level over 1,200. Finally comes back to a dry track here at Caulfield. That's I think why they're running at Caulfield. Is drawn nicely in 7 and gets Jamie Carr aboard. And just sort of looking through the field, she's the class runner along with Revolutionary Miss, and I think both those horses have the potential to improve sharply, but I do think Russian Conquest getting back on a dry track is the one who, at $12, she's looking at a very nice price for that race.
So Russian Conquest and maybe Revolutionary Miss in the 1,000 Guineas Prelude there at Caulfield for Dean Evans. We'll take a quick break. This is Giddy Up with Gareth Hall, and on the other side of it, we'll take a close look at the George Main on Saturday at Randwick with Dean. Welcome back to Giddy Up with Gareth Hall. Dean Evans from Winning Edge Investments is joining me, as he always does on a Thursday. Dino, let's have a look at the George Main. With Bet365, you've got Saki 340, Animo 220, Profondo 19, Joaz at 19, Fangirl at 10, and Hinge at $19. Is it a race in 2, or do you think maybe a horse like Fangirl or Hinge or Joaz or even a Profondo, if the track is dry, can cause an upset?
Yeah, look, interesting race from a profiling perspective over the last 10 years. 5 winners have come off a 14-day break and third up. 4 winners have come from the 28-day break and second up. Chris Waller's dominated the race. He's won 8 of the last 10 editions, which is quite incredible. And 5-year-old and 6-year-olds have won 8 of the last 10. 4-year-olds, despite a high representation, have only won 1. It is a favourites race. Favourites have won 8 of the last 10, and the highest price winner's only been $9.50 in the last 10 years. And also horses with an average prize money index of 200k or above have won 7 out of 8 starters. And Zaki and Zaki and Animo are the only 2 qualifiers there. But what is interesting is there hasn't been a horse come out of the race second up, off a 14-day break, second up. And that's Zaki's profile as an 8-year-old. So there hasn't been a horse who's managed to do it off that sort of profile. Animo certainly got the right profile, second up off a 28-day break. Is a favourite, has the best average prize money index, obviously a very classy horse. Having won multiple Group 1s, got beaten those in the Cox Plate and won the Winks first up, and J Max sticks with him over Zaki. So from a profiling perspective, in most respects, I've got Animo clearly over Zaki. The one negative with Animo is that he's a 4-year-old, and they've actually struggled in this race historically, with usually the more seasoned 5- and 6-year-olds dominating. Though I did think the biggest danger to Animo was Fangirl, very high quality mare, won the Group 1 binary. She's a 4-year-old mare as well. She races well fresh. She trialled very nicely. The 12th of August was the quickest of all triallers on the day for the last 400 metres. And then she was slow away in the Winks behind Animo, ran plus 10.5 for the last 600 metres, which was the quickest of the day. And Chris Waller has a really imposing record in this race. So for that reason, I think Fangirl is a really nice bet at sort of $9 or $10 versus Animo at the even money. And the other one that I thought is sort of the forgotten horse is Converge. He's a really high quality 4-year-old. He won Group 1 miles as a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, and Converge beat Animo fair and square when we were on him in the Round of Guineas. This track and distance just last prep. Converge just doesn't handle a wet track, so you can put an absolute line through its first up run. It just didn't handle it at all behind Zaki, and I'm sort of taking no note of that. He sort of failed in the Doncaster in a really wet track as well. But when he gets on the dry track, he's an A-grade horse. And I think at $26, you've got Converge who beat Animo, the $2 favourite fair and square. Going around here, you can even get 30 to 1 in some places. So I think Fangirl at sort of $9 and Converge at 30 to 1 are chances of toppling Animo and Zaki, who. I just think Zaki with James McDonald hopping off. We've had other riders try to ride Zaki and failed before, like Craig Williams is a horse that really needs to keep going in front, and can't sort of be set a soft tempo in front. He actually can't kick off that. So I just think with Tommy Berry's first ride on him, it'll be interesting whether he can get the horse in the rhythm and going quick enough. So I think Zaki's a bit of a risk, and I think there's a couple of rookies who can topple the top 2.
I'm glad you mentioned Fangirl. I love her around that $10 quote. The 10 o'clock news is just quickly approaching, Dino. So just quickly, who wins the shorts? Nature Strip, Eduardo, Mask Crusader, Marzu, Classique Legend, Lost and Running Overpass.
Yeah, I think Classic Legend will need the run. So will Mask Crusader. Eduardo was impressive first up. Nature Strip usually isn't wound up for these races, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But he's often beatable, first up, and we all know Waller's the master at getting him ready. So for me, it's not really a bet race, but I think Eduardo can certainly topple Nature Strip because Eduardo usually is more wound up for these early races. And it'll just be interesting to see where Marzu sort of fits in. I think he's sort of a horse that's more forward usually and can run well fresh. So I think Marzu will be running into the placings, and then we'll see sort of Mask Crusader charging home hard with Classic Legend. But I think it probably is down to Eduardo and Nature Strip first up here.
Love your work, Dino, of course, for our Giddy Up listeners on SEN Track. Just go to Winning Edge Investments. You type in SEN and you get 50% off for the rest of your life. It's the best value that you can get, and you're backing a winner already before Saturday. So As always, Dino, thanks for your help, mate, and good luck this weekend. And can't wait to catch up with you next week.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gareth. Great chatting with you, and good luck on Saturday.